I'm Norma Shepherd, Director of the Mobile Millinery Museum and author of 5 books on vintage fashion, including 1000 Hats, which I've talked about before, and also Accessorizing the Bride, Vintage Wedding Finery Through the Decades. I'm here to talk to you today about a very special artifact that fits both of those categories, and it is a headpiece from the 1920s that was donated to the museum before COVID. It's not a recent donation, but it was given to us at a vintage wedding fashion show, which we were doing. We've been doing those since 2001. Our first vintage wedding fashion exhibit was at Casa Loma in Toronto, and that was in 2001. So we've continued to acquire wedding finery along with hats, which are our mainstay for over 20 years now. This, I'll just say about the bridal book, and I'm sorry that the ring light is casting that shadow over it. The image I chose for the back cover is this 1920s bride. This was an ancestor of mine. Her headpiece is quite showy and very iconic of that era, as is her gown. Her shoes, they look like the Charleston style shoes, the beautiful medallions on her silk gown, which does not go to the floor. Most of the gowns of that era were 3/4 length or just above the ankle. The shoes of that era were really a focal point of fashion. Now take a look at the veiling. That goes beyond the floor. This veiling is trailing with a train. So it was really imaginative, the designers of the 1920s. And you can see the headpiece. It's sort of a froth of silk ruffles, but it is formed on a cage. So it gives it that typical cloche look. She's wearing a bobbed haircut, and it really accessorizes the entire look. The wedding bouquet as well has trailing ribbons, which make it what was called a shower bouquet. So the flowers of the 1920s, these great big shower bouquets with ribbons and trailing flowers, they did what the gown itself did not do. They would draw attention downward to the hem, to the heel. So I want to show you another image, and this is the picture of the bride wearing the headpiece that I want to show you today. So she too is holding quite a large shower bouquet. She's also swathed in veiling, several tiers of it, and the veiling falls from this very special headpiece, which also is formed on a cage but in a different way. So I want to show you this now. It has lost some of its former glory, but this piece can and will be repaired. This medallion is very sparkly, set in rhinestones. There are a couple missing, and there are also a few pearls which have fallen away. Some of them have lost their luster. These are glass pearls. And to show you the back, oops, there goes another, but we will retrieve it, and this is going to be repaired. This is this little cage which fits over the head is formed from some coarse fabric, and originally you can still see some of the stitches from where the veiling was attached. It's entirely possible that the bride decided to recycle the veiling for another bride. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, as the saying goes. Picking up pearls, that's what I'm going to be doing. Actually, saying that reminds me of one of my favorite milliners, Irene Burston, who went on to have a very successful writing career after her millinery design career, and a piece she wrote was called Picking Up Pearls. we do travel around. Well, we certainly did before COVID. During COVID, we've been doing some digital presentations, but our regular sort of modus operandi is to do exhibits, installations, retrospective millinery fashion shows, retrospective wedding fashion shows. And often at these live events, people are inspired to donate pieces that maybe they've had around or inherited, maybe haven't known a whole lot about. Often people come to me to ask for authentication or some sense of what era their piece might be from, and let them know maybe a few details about it. But the opposite happens, which is really exciting for us too. People who decide to donate pieces or even allow us to photograph pieces for me to write about, they have so much detail that they're also willing to share, and photographs, as I mentioned. And so that really adds to the history of the piece and the accuracy of how we present it. So always happy about that. As always, I will talk a little bit about the hat that I'm wearing. I selected this because I'm talking weddings, and this is a very suitable hat that you might wear to a wedding. It's a modern piece. I think I know. This was purchased for me just a month ago. It's a birthday present, and the label is Lousie Green. It's a decorated pillbox in mint with these lovely pastel ribbons and flowers. A little bit of veiling. I will do a video on veiling another time. There's some interesting facts about veiling and how it was used, and that ties in a bit with hat pins as well. Sometimes they're sewn right into the body of the piece. Other times you can pin them on with pins, but we'll talk about that another day. Hats fell out of fashion for many reasons. One of them was that there were so many imperatives around the wearing of a hat that it just became burdensome for women. If there are any social imperatives left, there may be one, and that is if you are attending a wedding wearing a hat and the mother of the bride is also wearing a hat, you do not remove yours until she has removed hers at the reception. And a good tip is take along the hat box. A lot of times the hat you're going to wear isn't going to fit on your head when you're sitting in the car anyway, but you want to put that hat box maybe in the cloakroom so that when you do remove your hat, you're protecting it. This is me saying, if you like this, hit like, subscribe. Let me know if there are any topics you'd like me to cover. I'm not sure if I said that this is made by Lousie Green, but I'm saying it now. She's another favorite designer of mine, an American millinery designer, and her pieces are quite wonderful. So I bid you adieu and hope you have a happy evening.